Yeah, print it. Okay. Well, you
Don't
know,
talk so loud.
probably have to holler at you all my life. Here you go. Come on in here, Camino. Hey, young man.
Hey, how are you doing? How are you?
Hi. Yeah.
When you see your faces on there, you'll be up. Okay.
So how you been? Running, busy. I need to take you with me to go visit Michael Cargill. Be a scholarship sponsor. Yeah, good idea. He told me he would. I just been so busy. I'd like to talk to him in a minute too. No audio, he says.
There is no audio going out.
Oh, now I hear something.
There's no audio going out.
Part of our staff is here watching his home. Well, sorry. Well, yeah, I really appreciate you got the computer stuff like that.
Are you falling asleep? So it's not too late back.
No, it's true. Been kind of always been this way for some reason. Because some people don't stay that way. I like some perspective. But the dust don't dry out.
People like it long.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. All right. Got it? Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Good evening, and thank you for joining us here at the Trailer Park Show one more time. We have a handful of guests that we're going to really get into discussing the legislation that's going on board. So here to my left,
Gary Teal. I'm going to introduce these two ladies to my left. I think the world of both of these people, and I want all the viewers to understand that when you are told that you have to go to Yale and you have to have $1 million in your pocket to be a powerful person in politics, there are a couple of people here with us today who just either didn't get the memo or thought that they could overcome those obstacles. And they are two of the most powerful people in Austin, in my opinion. And they do that not by kicking you in the shins the way, say, Lyndon Johnson used to do, but because they know what they're talking about, and you can too, because you are not going to really be able to keep track of what's going on in the Texas legislature by watching the evening news, but you can keep track of what's going on in the Texas legislature with the tools that they themselves have provided to us. And they sometimes drop the ball from time to time, and one of these two ladies will pick up the ball and make sure that the public knows what's going on inside the Capitol. But to my immediate left is Amy Hedtke, who is not with anyone. She is a one-woman force of nature. And to her left, Amy introduced me 2 years ago to Rachel Malone, who has worked for the RPT for a year, and now she is the Texas Director of Gun Owners of America.
All right.
And so there is nothing about gun legislation that Rachel doesn't know and doesn't know from experience. Again, she has been an activist from 3 sessions back, I think. Okay.
4, yes.
Wait, 4 then. So I think the plan tonight is for us to show you how you can use the internet to track whatever you're interested in. And Rachel, I'm going to invite you to speak about gun legislation in this session, but I know that a lot of what you have to say about supporting legislation applies to any issue from anyone's point of view. So how do you guys want to start this off? Do you want to show us something? Or
she's been doing these great Learn to Testify events across the state. How many of those have you done now?
Oh, probably at least 40.
At least 40, and there's still more coming
Oh,
up,
yes,
right?
absolutely. Absolutely.
So, since you've been doing that already, that's one of the reasons she's here tonight, to explain a lot of what's on the Texas legislature online and beyond, because there's a lot of stuff about testifying that's not on the TLO.
This is true.
So, could you tell us a little bit about your events? Sure. What you've done, upcoming ones, where they can find out more about that, and then
we'll jump into some of the details. Okay, all the exciting stuff you can go online and make it look like you live at the Capitol when you really spend 5 minutes a couple times a week.
Right.
It's exactly how it works. Right. So, oh gosh, where to start?
Where would people go to find out more about the Learn to Testify?
Okay. So first of all, you can go to Gun Owners TX, and if you forget what that is, we'll just look at my little computer screen. It says Gun Owners of America. So gunownerstx.org is a little Texas page that I made that shows information about upcoming hearings whenever we get those scheduled. It has my schedule of events, so if I'm going to be near you, check out one of my training events. The training that Amy talked about, it's a 2 or 3 hour training when I do the full segment. And I go through basically everything you need to know to be really effective at advancing whatever issue you care about. And it's for everyday people. It's for the people who aren't lawyers, you aren't a politician, and you never want to be. You never wanted to be involved in politics, but you care about something, and you really want to make it happen because you're riled up that your legislators aren't doing this thing. So that's what the training is intended to do. It's your boot camp. And we'll go through a couple of the highlights here. So I'm trying to think about what are some of the things that the everyday Texan who isn't living and breathing politics, what do you hear about the legislative session that makes you say, hey, I want to go find a little more information? And I bet it's things like, oh, there's a bill coming up for a hearing this week.
Wednesday, property taxes.
Right. Wednesday, that's exactly what's happening right now. You might have heard already if you're a little bit tuned in to political things. There is a hearing coming up this Wednesday for property taxes. Well, what if that's all that you heard? And you said, hey, I want to know more, but it's scary to jump. Like, whom do you call? Do you call 311 and say, how do I get, they're not going to know, right? So if all you hear is, hey, there's some hearing coming up for some issue, and you say, I want to know more about that. I don't know if we have my computer screen pulled up, or if we want.
Are we ready to cut over to the computer screen? Let me know when we are. Here we are.
Go. Wow. Perfect. Ooh, sweet.
So
that was nice. That was kind of cool. So
let me say, just as a further introduction, that starting back one step before this, your legislator is your representative in Austin, and they're always happy to see you. You can stop by and introduce yourself, and they'll be real nice to you, but you're not going to change anything if you just stop by and say, I love freedom, or I love big government, or whatever you say to them. They'll nod their heads.
Sometimes they aren't always happy to see you.
Well, they will act like they're happy to see you because they need your vote. But I think that one step that you guys, you've been living in this world for 10 years, and what some people may not understand out there is that these people want to talk about legislation. That's what's relevant to them. And if you go in and you say, I like guns, they'll say, okay, so does everybody else in my district. Thanks for stopping by. But if you have a bill number and you know when a hearing is coming up, that's when you can be really effective because you're speaking their language in a way and you're talking to them about something that's on their desk, something that they have to decide something about. So anyway, we're up and ready to go. So
great. So yeah, let me go through, for example, if you say, hey, I know there's a hearing coming up Wednesday, I want to know a little more about it. Let's go through that. And then I do want to come back and talk about why these committee hearings are important, like on a little bigger picture. But the first thing you would do, and you can find this information in 5 minutes or less.
Where are we? What's this address?
We're going to go to capital.texas.gov. So that's capital with an O, capital. Hey, it's important, right?
It is important.
Laughs. Capital with an O, .texas.gov. And it pulls up this site. It's called Texas Legislature Online. You can always Google that if you can't find it. And what you want to do, you see a lot of links here. You see stuff for the Texas House and the Senate. You see all the search pane. You see the frequently asked questions. I want to direct your attention to this. I'm going to highlight it over here. This middle right pane over here. That's legislative activity. That's everything happening today. So first of all, if you were going to say, hey, I know there's a hearing happening right now today, I want to listen into it, you click the video broadcast for House or Senate. I was actually just over there, and I believe I heard the very end of this committee. Yes, it says this program is not currently broadcasting. Well, a couple hours ago, if I'd clicked here, I would have been able to click the link to actually watch this hearing. It was happening at the Capitol just a couple hours ago. So you can find those links, and same thing for the House. You can click and say, hey, what's happening in the House? Nothing currently, but you can also, if it's in the middle of a hearing or a House event, or House or Senate floor session, you can see the video broadcast and see what's happening right then. What if you want to get information on something coming up? So let's go to committees. You see this top tab over here, committees. You can get to pretty much anything by clicking any of these buttons, so don't worry about getting to the right spot. But here's one way of getting to it. I go to meetings by date, and I'm going to say, let's look at a Senate hearing. So Senate hearings by date. Well, this is what happened today. All these little blue spots are days where they have hearings. You've got a finance hearing tomorrow, Tuesday, and then Wednesday we have, again, a finance hearing as well as a property tax hearing at 8 a.m. And you can see preliminary information over here. It says E1.012 hearing room. We'll talk about that in a minute. It's at the Capitol. Or we can do here is click for the hearing notice. This little icon right here pulls up all the information about the hearing. I'll pull that up a little bit bigger. And you can scroll down. You can see when and where this is happening. It's in the Capitol, and we'll go through how to find stuff in the Capitol in a minute. Don't worry about that. But you can see what bill is being heard. You can click this bill for a little more information, and you can see what you can do as a citizen to show up. It says when this particular hearing, actually, the notice is very specific. It tells you when public testimony is starting. That's kind of unusual.
So even though it's at 8 a.m., I don't have to get there till like noon.
Right.
This is fantastic.
So what's happening is actually, let's talk about why you don't have to get there till 12 or 12:30. Yeah. Because for 4 hours, they're going to be listening to all the state agencies, all the invited testimony from all the state experts on property taxes. But then they will hear from the public after that. And it sounds like as long as, registration closes at 3 p.m. Yes.
Can you still go there early and sit in on those hearings?
Absolutely. You can show up and you can see what the state is listening to. You can see what.
And
right?
Actually, it's really good to go if you're someone like me that tends to not do a scripted testimony but respond kind of on the fly. I'm usually taking notes and listening for certain buzzwords and phrases that they're using, and those are the ones that I tend to jump on in my testimony.
Right.
And many times if they see you, the elected officials see you sitting in the audience and you're representing an organization or a group or whatever, like you say, hey, their attention is actually, oh yeah, they're watching. Yeah.
That's exactly right. You have power as an individual citizen. Yeah, you're watching them, they're watching you. As an individual citizen who shows up, right? You're somebody who's not paid to go. You're taking time out of your day. You're taking time off work. This must mean something to you. Maybe enough to get people unelected if you care enough. So hey, they're gonna listen. They're gonna listen to that. They care about that.
And the invited testimony is from members of the committee. Do they nearly always have invited testimony that is really pushing one or the other point of view?
It depends on the committee chair. So the committee chair will typically invite it depends on the issue. They might invite the state agencies who have a stake in it. Other organizations or heads of organizations might have a stake in it, like, if it's a school-related issue, get some school superintendents from a rural area, an urban area, some school board administration people, teachers, people like social workers, people like that. A lot of times they will try to get some for and some against. They will definitely pull in the lobbyists who are working on the issue, whether for or against it. They will a lot of times let some of the premier lobbyists give their invited testimony and talk as long as they want about why they want it or why they don't.
Well, so in any case, it's certainly a good idea to listen to all that.
Absolutely.
Because unless you're already an expert, you will find out what kinds of questions the members are asking.
Absolutely.
And you'll find out in that bill, maybe 9/10 of it is not any big deal or not being argued about, and maybe there are 2 or 3 matters in there that really seem to be what people are fighting about, and you'll learn about that in the invited testimony.
Right.
And then, as you said, Amy, you can, when you're doing your testimony, you're talking about the issue that everyone else is talking about and getting your licks in on something that's important, and not just being there and saying, I love guns, and not knowing anything else about what you're trying to argue.
And it is very effective because I've sat in some hearings, be it there or be it at city council, whatever, and only through the discussion did we realize or see them change their minds. Mm-hmm. And it was because of the public testimony that did show up. So it is very, very effective.
Right, exactly. Well, let's talk for a minute about why the committee hearings themselves are important, right? So, I mean, haven't you always heard, call your legislators, tell them your opinion, that's the best way to get involved, right? Well, here's the deal. So, you call your legislator, and your legislator says, you're right, you know what? You have my vote on that. I will vote for that. And then the bill dies. Why did it die? Here's the deal. A lot of the bills that die, they never get voted down. Sometimes they never have one single vote against them. Here's what happened. It's inaction. It's inaction that keeps it from getting to the floor to keep it from getting a vote. And a lot of times, the legislators will make sure this happens because they do not want to go on record either for or against the issue. They will clog it up in the committee process and make sure they never have to have a vote on it. And when you have a session that lasts, like ours does in Texas, it lasts 140 days. That's 5 months every other year. So it started in the beginning of January. We have until the end of May. We're already almost a whole month through. Okay, bills can't even start being heard on the floor for at least another month. So here's the key in process. Instead of just going to your own legislator and saying, please vote for this if it gets to the floor, you gotta go to the committees. That's where the bills die. That's where almost all the bills die. They might bring them up for a hearing and then fail to bring them up for a vote, and they don't even get the chance to vote them out of the committee to go on. They might die in that committee, they might die in the next committee, they might just, they run out of time before they get to the floor. That is why it's so important to figure out who are the people on the committee listening to the bills that you care about. Contact those people, and most importantly, show up to those committee hearings, because the committee hearing is the one time that the state legislature invites the whole entire state of Texas to show up and give your opinion on public record on each issue. And if you don't show up that time, you might say, well, I'll show up next time. Well, okay, it's going to be another couple of years.
No, 2 more years.
2 more years.
Just to be clear, are there any asterisks on what you just said about people coming to testify? What if they live in Oklahoma? What if they're felons? What if they're 12 years old? What is there something that you have to do? You have to sign up when you get to the Capitol building.
If you live in Oklahoma, go talk to your own people.
I agree.
Right?
And you do have to come to Austin according to the current rules.
You do have to come to Austin, which is why that's part of why it carries such power.
No video testimony.
No video testimony. See, they know that if you're there, you might have driven in. They see where you're from because you have to sign in and say where you're from. And you can sign in just on your opinion and not speak, but you have so much more credibility. If they see you there talking, they say, oh, this person didn't just get somebody to sign in for them. They actually signed in. They're here in person. They drove from 6 hours away. That has so much, I don't even know how many hundreds or thousands more times power than just calling, making a phone call.
Sending a postcard or whatever.
Because it represents so much more effort that you went through.
Do you have to be a voter?
No. You do not even have to be a voter.
You have to be a citizen?
There's no, you sign in, so when you sign in, let's talk about what you do. You get there, you sign in, sometimes it's on paper, sometimes it's electronic kiosk, depending on if it's what they're doing. For some stuff. They're moving to technology. They're moving that way a little bit. Anyway, so you write on your, first of all, you pick what bill you're interested in, or what hearing, okay, so you gotta know the bill number, what it's about. And then you give them your name, your contact info, so phone number, mailing or street address, and email address, and then you tell them whom you're representing. So if you work for an organization or you have to be authorized to represent that organization, you can write that down. Otherwise, just say, hey, I'm representing myself. Self is great. And then you say you sign basically the electronic affidavit that yes, this is you, and you represented yourself accurately. You tell them your position on the bill, for or against, or on. On is like, I like some things, but I don't like other things, so go fix it, pretty much.
Is there any strategy involved there? Is it smarter to say, I'm testifying on this bill and educating you than it is to say against or for?
A lot, it can be. So basically, if you really just love the bill and you don't really care if they change it, go ahead and say testifying on it. Or testifying, sorry, in favor of it. Say, yes, I like the bill. I'd love it even more if you did these things. If you really just don't like the bill at all, it's a bad bill, then testify against it, but you might say, but if you change these things, I might change my mind. But if it's really kind of split, like I was reading some bills today, I'm like, I like this one thing, I don't like the other thing, but I'm not really neutral on it. I like some and I don't like the other. So I will go testify on, but I'll tell them why. Like, I care about both of these things. Do this, but don't do the other thing.
Like last session, the one that I was dragged out of, I was actually there to testify on a bill that I didn't agree with because we were asking the committee to give another bill a hearing. And there were a lot of us there to do that. We did that in several committee hearings.
Well, yeah. And if we want to move into gun rights, I could talk about what we did as a strategy there.
And I know that government sets up these opportunities to give testimony and everything. But for the public queue, it's so intimidating. Okay? And I just want to share with you that when you walk into that Capitol, it's your Capitol.
Yes.
When you walk into that hearing room, it's your hearing room. And this is a type of attitude we need to take in there because it's ours. They just happen to be the elected trustee to govern, but it belongs to the people. And that is one of the things that really bothers elected officials when you make, you pressure their accountability. But you're right, and I think that the more people that show up to testify, and it is going more technology, hope it's easier, because I've seen people sit there for an hour, and the process gets so intimidating. Yeah, and you say, you know what, we're going to go home.
Right.
And having worked for an elected official, I also know that the board, the dais, you know what, he's here. Okay, let's prolong the meeting. And they'll prolong the meeting.
So what does it mean, in your experience, if you're up there giving testimony and they start pushing back on you? They start kind of asking you snarky questions or pushing back on what you're saying. What does that mean? It means you pushed on the right thing, right?
You're pushing their buttons and you're getting you're making points that they are scared about at this point.
It's good.
Yeah. Well, being the unarmed person here, I know he's got his gun. I don't know about y'all, but why do we have to have legislation for constitutional if it's already constitutional?
So, okay, I like that question. I like that question. People ask me all the time. They're like, oh, I was just reading in the Constitution, this thing here that everybody, that they say they pass this law, that law is actually unconstitutional. Therefore, nobody has to do this. We just need to tell them it's unconstitutional. Well, here's the deal. Okay, so, yes, you might believe it's unconstitutional. What it comes down to is enforcement. Okay, so it is enforced based not on your opinion, but on the opinion of judges and, preliminarily, the opinion of law enforcement who arrest you for doing something that's in the books, whether or not that's an unconstitutional law. So what if you read the Constitution, you say, this thing here, it says, right to keep and bear arms. It says, whatever else it says, I have a right to carry my gun, no license. Okay, you can go out on the street and carry your gun open. That's actually, without a license, that's against the laws of Texas. So, that might be fully constitutional for you. You still get arrested for it. You still go to jail for it. You have to go through the, emotional pain and suffering, the mental pain and suffering, the physical pain and suffering of being in prison, and all the money for however many years to fight your legal case and finally take it to court and maybe take it long enough to possibly get it, if they'll accept it at the highest courts, to get that law overturned. That's the cost of following through with those things that you think are constitutional, and that you very well may be right, but that is not recognized in current law.
Are there any other states in Texas? In the country where constitutional, it's just recognized, I guess is what I'm saying.
Over 25 to 30% now that they passed another one. Of the states recognize constitutional carry. Constitutional carry just means if you own the gun, okay, you legally possess it, there's nothing that says you can't own it. Well, it's yours, legally, rightfully. You should be able to carry it without having to go also ask government for a license to say, well, this thing that I legally own, may I also carry it, please?
But she is a specialist in gun control, and that is one of the issues that is going to the legislature.
So essentially, we have the state of Texas using a Jim Crow provision.
Yes.
In the state constitution to violate the natural rights of the people. And the only way you change the constitution, well, I shouldn't say the only. There's a couple of ways to change the constitution, and this one is the less violent way. So we're trying the less violent way first before we start going after elected officials with bullets.
Well, a lot of times Republicans are not all that thrilled about new laws. We say we don't need more laws. And in this case, your position, Gun Owners of America, is that because we should have and recognize a constitutional right to carry arms, we should undo some laws. We don't need new legislation.
Right.
We need to undo the laws that say you have to get.
In order to repeal a law, so to get rid of a bad law, you have to pass a bill. So yes, it's new legislation. It's a bill. It's a piece of legislation that says get rid of this bad law that's on the books. So you have to pass that bill in order to get rid of the law. That's what we're trying to do, not add more laws to the books.
This might be a good time to bring up one of your favorite gun bills that's on this session, and let's take a look at how that's addressed with strike-throughs and underlines and stuff like that.
So let's go ahead back to...
Is this something your group is offered, this bill, or has it...
We're working on it. We're one of the stakeholders in it. Yes, this is
my... It's already been filed.
Yeah. So I'm going to go through and show y'all how to read the text of this bill and just a little bit about how to understand it. So even if this isn't your issue, this is the process for reading any bill. Okay, so if you're following a group, whether it's a life group or about property taxes or property rights or parental rights, and they say, hey, call your legislator and tell them to support this bill, HB whatever, SB whatever. HB is a House bill, SB is a Senate bill. You can say, hey, I want to know more information before I just tell my legislator to support something. I want to know what this says. So you go back to that website. It's capital.texas.gov. I'll say it again, capital.texas.gov. And you just type in the bill number. So my bill number is HB 357, and if you shoot guns, you'll recognize that caliber. Great caliber, HB 357, and we're just going to hit go. And so we come up with this bill. And interestingly, if I didn't know the bill number, I could also go to text search, and I believe if I actually search for constitutional carry, I think because it's called the Constitutional Carry Act, there you go. It comes up.
Great.
So to get to it, I click the Texas icon, then history. So this is what it looks like this is the bill page, right? For any bill, a little bit bigger. And you see the history and who signed on to it, when it was filed. We're going to click text right over here. Okay, don't let this scare you. I'm going to walk you through how this is not too difficult. So we're going to click this button to read the text of the bill. This is what a bill looks like. Okay? So it goes by section. Section 1, Section 2, Section 3, all the way down to this is a very, very long bill, Section 39. This is one of the longest bills that you will see. Some longer, but this is a very long bill. But it doesn't matter. Let's take it section by section, okay? Section 1's a title. We're going to ignore it. Section 2, it starts out by referring to a section of code. So here's the deal. A bill, a piece of legislation, right, that gets filed, the purpose of it is to somehow change existing law. So if I say, hey, Amy, I want to change, whatever your House Rule number 2 by adding the word and always after the second word. You say, well, what the heck does that mean? Okay, what is my existing House Rule number, whatever? Okay, so the deal is you have to know what the law says now before you can know how it's being changed. So what I'm going to look at is just the section of code being effective. So it says Penal Code 4602. I'm going to write that down and move on to the next section. Penal Code 4603, E1, E2, and F, and move on to the next section. 46, this is just the title. By adding 46032. So, and so on, right? I'm sorry?
He's on the phone.
All right, so, and you see what I'm saying? So you go through and you write down what the code says. Okay,
and there you can see some of the strike-throughs where they're repealing or taking out some of the stuff. that they
So
had before.
everything that's regular text is basically just quoting existing law. And then where that you see the strikeout, it's taking out those words. And where you see the underline, it is actually adding those words. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this first where it says Penal Code 4602, and we're going to open up a new window. We're going to Google Penal Code 4602. And we are going to look this up. And right over here,
Weapons.
4602.
This
And
is existing code.
This is existing law. Okay, this is what the law says right now. So we're going to just break this down. It starts out by saying a person commits an offense if the person. Guess what that means? It means this thing here is against the law. Okay, what's against the law? Okay, we're going to take you back to your high school, English classes. We're going to kind of diagram the sentence. Take out all the unnecessary words. Okay, it's against the law to carry a handgun or club. Okay, so add the other words. It says intentionally, knowingly, or recklessly carry on or about your person, and if you're not on your own premises or under your control, etc., these other places. But basically, that law right there, that's the Jim Crow era law that banned carry of handguns. It was passed right after Reconstruction when they did not want the freed slaves to carry guns. That's why. That's still on the books. Okay, so now let's go back to our bill, and what do we see? What does it strike? Oh my gosh, it's striking handgun or. So it's taking out the ban on carrying a handgun. See what it's doing? It's actually repealing that ban. And you can go on through the bill, but that's how you look at it and see what it does.
What if I want to carry a club?
Well, if you want to carry a club, well, you know what? The club lobbyists better get busy.
I should testify and ask that they amend this.
You should ask that they.
Strike through on the club part.
You absolutely should.
Yeah, because I'm not clubs, but I've seen people with machetes, big machetes, and they're,
Well, they just had the knife, the blade. What is it? That law was.
So you can now carry.
Yeah.
So here.
A sword. You can carry a sword. Yeah.
So there are still some. Well, let's look at the weapons code. You can look at definitions. This is what a club means.
Blackjack, nightstick, mace, or tomahawk.
So those things
are. I love those government bureaucrats that write all this.
Not limited to.
Right.
These are some kind of college-educated person that lawyers decided to get into all this language. My God.
Like when I tried to take my bullwhip into the national convention, they told me that it was a deadly weapon and I couldn't take it in.
Yes. So there you go.
I believe that. And you were trying to carry your bull.
I got it in the first 3 days.
Yeah. I still
So,
need to learn how to crack that whip.
when was that law written? The penal code?
So in 18.
Oh my God.
1868, 69, they revised the Texas Constitution to give the legislature the ability to restrict the wearing of arms. And then the next year, I don't know if the date's actually on the
A lot of times if you pull up the code, it tells you the date.
It was
either amended or written or added.
Yeah, but the first handgun ban, literally just handgun ban on carrying outside of your own property, was actually I think they revamped the actual code.
Yeah.
But it was around 1870.
Oh my God. So, and this is why I think it's real important that your governor have been mentioning a need for a constitutional convention. A constitutional state convention where they get and visit all these antiquated, if you will, laws that are still in the Constitution of the state of Texas.
But let me ask you this. So, if the legislators are so unwilling to even pass a law repealing one of these things, what makes us think that they're going to call this in such a way that makes it conducive to repealing everything else, that they're going to not just find some other way to pass all these things?
Yeah, right? Because they'll probably find themselves out of office after they start. But I think hasn't Abbott been advocating a constitutional...
Was it a constitution of the state?
Of the state, yeah.
Yeah, that's a different matter.
Convention is a federal thing.
Oh, okay.
It's for the U.S. Constitution.
Yeah, but here in Texas, we got laws that are written back in the 1800s, and this is just one. Ain't no telling what other crazy ones are, and still in the books. Not parking your horse near to a water station and things like that.
The reason that's still in the books, it's the same reason. Okay, maybe people aren't scared of freed slaves, but it's fear. They're afraid of everyday citizens carrying guns.
Mm-hmm.
That's why.
Because there might be shootouts in the street.
Right.
And is that happening in the other 25, 30 states that already have constitutional carry?
Well, let's think about it. So what are the, let me pop quiz here for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
What are the top 5, 6 most dangerous states that come top of your head? Dangerous places, dangerous states in the U.S.
Well, I'd say large New York, California.
Cities.
Chicago.
Cities.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cities?
No, states.
Well, I'm
States.
saying, you're saying states, I'm just saying anywhere that there's a large city like Detroit or Chicago or Los Angeles.
Okay.
Definitely Chicago.
So since of course we're assuming constitutional carry, getting rid of the license means everything's going to be more dangerous. Those must be the constitutional carry states, right? Where everything's more dangerous. No, actually, the opposite is true. Those are the ones where they restrict carrying of guns so much more. So all the states that they pass constitutional carry, those are the safest states.
And places where they
after
don't
they pass it.
restrict it very much include places like Vermont. So
Vermont, New Hampshire,
Maine.
Okay,
Mississippi.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How many gun bills have been filed in Texas to address gun rights in the state?
Okay, those are 2 questions, Amy.
Okay.
How many gun bills have been filed, and how many would actually seriously address our rights? Probably about like 200 and about like 2.
Wow.
Okay, 5. Something like that.
So who would be protecting this code? You would say the legislatures or some lobby business behind?
Okay, so let's look at who signed on to last year's constitutional carry bill. Okay, here's your list of legislators. They had the whole entire session.
Can we switch back to the computer screen?
Okay. Well, it's on the front page here. Okay. All right, so we're gonna switch back. There we go. Okay, gonna bring it up really big. We're on this bill page. Let's take a look at the legislators that actually signed on to last year's constitutional carry bill. Okay, so right now, it's still a little early in the session. People are just starting to sign on. They had all entire session last time to do it. Okay, these are the people who actually put their name on the bill and said, "Yes, I support this." And by the way, this is the way you can ask your legislator to support something, not just, if it gets to the floor, I'll support it.
So the names that you've highlighted is not a majority of our Texas House.
That's right. So who doesn't want it to pass? Well,
are they on
potentially everybody besides these people.
This is the House or Senate?
This is the House.
The House.
Mm-hmm.
This bill wasn't even filed in the Senate, was it?
No, none of the senators filed it. And so far this year, not one single one of the senators has filed. A lot of them said, if somebody else files it, they'll get on board. But it's all the finger pointing. Let's somebody else should do it. I'm busy. I'm doing too many other things. Nobody wants to lead on this. Well, let's see. We still have Stickland and Schaefer and Leach and Biederman, Kane, Hefner. Isaac didn't run again. Keogh didn't run again. He got a county judge position. He ran for that. Krausling, Metcalf, Shaheen, Swanson. Yes, all of them except for Rinaldi and Isaac, I believe. Yeah.
They had no idea.
Right.
Yep.
So what can we expect on how soon hearings will start for gun legislation?
Okay, so hearings start this week on bills in particular. But wait. Show you on the page. We will do that. So I did that a minute ago, Amy. You should be paying attention.
Okay, so the hearings will for all and any bills will start this week or next week.
They start this week for bills, but that's a Senate bill and it's a really low bill number, which means the lieutenant governor who is in charge of the Senate wants the thing to pass soon. These are the hearings happening. Some of them are just for getting to know each other, and like the finance committee is just listening to testimony about general things. But gun bills, I would say in the next few weeks.
I was in a finance committee last week, and they were talking about how I think it's the Railroad Commission that's still using Fortran.
You want to explain that?
I can explain it. I have a degree in computer science, and I studied Fortran in 1977. So, yeah, Fortran is a computer language that really was outmoded
Tried and true, right? Tried and
It was
true.
already outmoded when I was studying it at TCU. So it is very shocking. It is very, very shocking. The only thing that really would have been more surprising if they had said, we want to move to Fortran because we're using 3x5 cards. If they had said something like that, it would have been only a little more surprising.
Yeah, they were asking for like $10 million to update their mainframe.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Wow.
And a big factor, especially in the testimony, because all these legislative committees and hearings and bills, at the end of the day, gonna hit you in your back pocket.
That's right.
Right here. And that's why it is even more important
and
to
you
make
know,
sure.
You made a statement earlier that was kind of important about people that are just intimidated
Mm-hmm.
in going in to testify.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my son has testified. Yes,
my little brother's testified.
And so he can testify. And I'll tell you what, for those of us that have testified a lot, our testimony really doesn't mean as much as the person who gets up there and you can tell they are scared to death to speak, but they waited and waited and they got up there and they spoke anyway.
Yeah, that means so much.
And that's critical.
Mm-hmm.
It really is powerful. Even if all you do is speak a few sentences.
Yeah.
The fact that you stay and do that.
Like, do you remember the one time my little brother was there, but he wasn't going to speak, and I wasn't going to make him speak, and he got so upset at all that he was hearing. He said, okay, I can't talk for 2 whole minutes, but what if I just say 2 sentences? I said, that's fine. And he did, and it was powerful.
And they see that.
They do.
And they'll comment on it, too.
They do.
To set expectations that you said, I can't speak for 2 whole minutes, some people may think that they will have a chance to just yap and talk for a while.
Not
with
usually.
These legislators. So 3 minutes, really?
2 minutes or 3 minutes is the standard time limit cutoff. Sometimes they'll ask you questions, let you go longer. Sometimes they won't enforce the limit, but 2 or 3 minutes is standard.
Yeah.
So really coming up with a 3-minute speech, like as if it were, a debate class or something, is probably not very helpful. Probably it's better if you just say, my name is Gary Teal, I live in this place, and I think that this bill is great or bad, or these are the things that I have a problem with, and just get right to it, rather than our forefathers brought forth on this continent. Kind of.
Alter or abolish.
Yeah. I mean, I write out my testimony when I go and testify, just because 2 minutes is short. And if I get distracted, I don't want to lose 30 seconds of what I was going to say, so I read it all out.
Good thing you mentioned that, because that's another way of testifying is submitting written testimony.
Or you can do both.
Yeah, or both, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the deal. I feel like people think, you hear testify, and you think, what do you think? Court of law, right? Oh my gosh, that's scary. Your heart's beating. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, and this is incriminating, and somebody's going to go to jail over this, and it's scary. Okay, this is not that kind of testifying. This is not a court of law.
You want to raise your hand? What? What do you mean?
Okay. Here's the deal. You do not have to prove everything beyond the shadow of a doubt or preponderance of evidence or whatever standard that you would have to in a court of law. You're simply testifying about, this is my opinion. This is my actual opinion. Nobody coerced me and manipulated me into saying this against my will. This is my actual opinion. This is what I think. That's what you're testifying on.
Can you bring up the witness list from some of the
Yes,
previous?
I can bring up the witness list.
Yeah, when you testify, you're a witness.
You are a witness.
They're still not pet friendly, so.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to bring your emotional support peacock?
There you go, because there are times that you really need them.
Now, I made my speech about how this isn't just for someone who has special training or something. Anyone can do this.
Yeah.
But I also do want to say that, obviously, if you are the only person in Texas who has a certain opinion, the legislature is probably not going to sit up and listen. So to the extent that you can join with people who are like-minded, you can introduce yourself when you're waiting in line to do these things. You get to know people. There may, for all you know, be a Texas lobby for the blah, blah, blah of blah, blah, which is your issue. You get to know those people. They will love having your input and help. And if I were crafting a strategy for shaping legislation, I would try to get 6 or 7 people there. I'd try to get some of my friends to come in, and not necessarily even, if you have like 20 or 30, get shirts that match or something.
Yeah.
Let the legislators look out there and think to themselves, Wait a minute. These people
These
look
are
organized.
Yeah, you will
And-
see stickers.
Yeah,
at the
stickers are
hearing on
fine.
Wednesday.
Absolutely. Stickers are good.
In fact, I mean, and that's how we met Rachel was
Yep.
at hearings.
There
Like,
you
hey,
go.
you're saying the same thing I am. We should know each other and work on this together. And guess what we're doing now? We're working together on things. That's exactly how we met.
And,
Right.
and the groups do matter, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
I'm here speaking on behalf of the East Austin Lions Club. Oh my God, guess what? Maybe
voting
four
block.
or five of those sitting up there are members of the Lions Club back home.
Right. It means something. It means something. Yeah. So I want to show you all the difference. So
Okay.
sometimes a hearing like on constitutional carry or on property tax, what they're calling property tax relief, which we could talk too long about that. It's not really relief. Anyway, moving on. Some of the hot button issues are going to have huge hearings. You'll have dozens or hundreds of people showing up to testify for hours. But some of the hearings on small bills that maybe haven't gotten everybody's attention but still might be important, they might have 2 people testifying. Or maybe if it's big, 5 people. Like 5 people is a lot for a lot of hearings. So if it's an issue that's not hot button but you care about it, your one voice might actually be the difference and say, oh, we hadn't thought about this issue. You know, people were interested enough to tell us about this issue. Maybe there's not a lobbyist working on it. So I'm going to show you the difference. So this is the witness list. If you saw how I went there, I just clicked the committee page, and then you go to the meetings. Scrolling down, here we go.
There you go.
There we go. This is the witness list, and this is for the constitutional carry hearing for Stickland's HB 375 last year. These are all the people who showed up, and they didn't just sign in and say, yes, I want this. They actually got up there, and they spoke in favor of this bill, okay?
I know a bunch of those.
Right?
People.
These are all my people. These are my friends. These are all the people. Oh, there's me right there.
Homer?
There's me. These are all the people who
Lauren
spoke
Landau?
in favor. They got up there and
Wait a
they
minute,
talked.
those are all my friends.
So
Yes, so what are you doing out there? You weren't
what-
here yet.
what is so difficult with the party in passing this? Like you said, you know, I mean, y'all are the majority.
That is
That's a very good question.
Hello.
uh-huh.
I think that it's human nature, and I think that there are people who see someone harmed by a gun and they just make a wish to their fairy godmother that we could write a law that would make it illegal for people to use guns
It's fear.
to hurt people.
It's fear.
Not only that, but go back to that witness list.
So let's make up a law that says that it's okay to take away guns, but only from people who are going to hurt people. And, you know, in a lot of ways, I'd be for that if it weren't
It's
just
all fear. It's this
fairy tale.
illusion that the government can take care of us. That is exactly what it is. It's
And-
like we wish the government could take care of us. We don't want to have to think that we might be vulnerable.
How many people, how many names do you see on that witness list? This was the constitutional carry bill last session. And how many people from across the entire state of Texas showed up to speak on that? It wasn't that many.
Not that many.
And even with the party, the state convention of how many delegates? Over 8,000 dedicated Republicans. How many of them showed up to support their legislative
Can you
priority?
put that list up?
Not that many.
There we go.
How many was that?
I think that was about
Less than,
65.
Less than 100.
Okay, so now here are all the people.
100 Texans showed up.
Here are the people who showed up and testified against it, and then you have Amy Hedtke who testified on it. She probably said it didn't go far enough. Here are the people who showed up. Okay, I want you to see this now. These people showed up and they said I'm in favor, but they didn't actually speak. It's a good number of people. Okay. So I want to
Also a
show
lot
you
of
something.
people.
I want to show you something else. So hang on. These are the people who showed up there and signed in against it. You see, I'm scrolling, and we're still only in the J's and L's and N's, and I could keep on going, but I think you get the point. So that is what it looks like for a hot button issue. So what we need is hundreds of people to show up. Now I want to show you, I think this witness list is going to be different. This is still, well, I wanted to find a different one. Hang on. Let me try. Okay, this will be a good one, okay? So for this bill, you had one person for, one person on, and you had these people registered but didn't testify. Okay, it's not very many. These you had a lot of people testifying. You had 4, and then, these people testifying against.
Michael.
Right? So again, like a lot of time, like this over here, 2 people should have they didn't even testify for it. So a lot of the littler bills, it only takes a couple of people to turn the tide there.
And even on your big bills that you think should have tons of people showing up,
you still just get maybe 100.
Yeah.
Don't
you
you?
show up and you're exponentially affecting
Don't they
people.
also have to disclose whether they're lobbyists or not when they sign up?
Right, you disclose if you're representing somebody. Yes,
You're a lobbyist. You know?
I am a lobbyist.
What about if you're an advocate? I've also heard that because I'm with LULAC, and they always tell us, well, you're not a lobbyist, but you're an advocate under LULAC.
Okay, so a couple different things. If you're actually being paid, and there are certain, I'm not an attorney, so don't take advice. Then you have to register with the Texas Ethics Commission as a lobbyist. When it comes to testimony, there's nothing that ever requires you to say you're representing a certain entity. If you do say you're representing them, you better not be lying. You better have their authorization. Like if I work for Walmart, I can't say I'm representing Walmart, right? I have to actually be authorized to represent the organization. So if they ask you to represent them, that's great. You can go represent them.
Could we do just a minute or two on the other things that you can do to support your decision to do testimony? Wouldn't you want to drop by the offices of some of these representatives and say hello and introduce yourself? Would you do that before you testify or after you testify? Or what are the other things you can do to make a difference besides giving your 3 minutes of testimony and disappearing?
Yeah. So get together a list of the bill numbers that you support. Either because you went and searched for the bills and you found them, or because some organization told you these bills are good and you trust them, okay? So get together your list of bill numbers or your list of issues, like constitutional carry and get rid of property taxes and whatever else you want. Call your own legislator at their capital office or their district office, which is in your area. Of course, everybody here is going to be Austin, right? So ask them for a meeting with the representative. Your state representative should be able to meet with you. If they say no, say, okay, I want to meet with the chief of staff or some staff. Have that meeting. Tell them the issues you want them to support. Ask them to put their name on those bills.
I'll never forget when we started single-member districts. It was Senator Wentworth, Dr. Who was the chairman of the party? The chairman of the party, Dr. Rosemary Edwards, and then the lawyer, what's his name? Roger. So we were going all around the Capitol, and we got a little experience of this whole process you're talking about. Because we worked with Senator, we worked with Senator from San Antonio.
Yeah.
Wentworth?
Okay.
Yes, Wentworth. And it was interesting because they had a hearing. We went to the hearing, and then there was some issue on the floor. There was a big old discussion on the floor. But he came out, remember? And he talked to us, and he told us, look, the bill's going this way. We're going to have to do this, this, or that. If not, it's probably to stay out of it. But the point that I'm making is that he actually stepped off the floor to come talk to us and brief us on the bill, on how it was going. And because of that, we have, 10-1 or single-member districts and all. That's the genesis of where it started.
And for people that just can't get to Austin and wanted to support those who can get to Austin, like if you're into constitutional carry and gun rights, but you want to help Rachel get down there.
Yep. Follow me on Facebook.
Okay.
I'm putting information out. So I'm Rachel Malone. Follow me on Facebook. I put out information about, hey, we need, we're going to need people to give gas money for carpools or buy a pizza for somebody or help with information, or I need somebody to sit there and set up a live stream and report on things.
Well, do what I do. I walk in there in the elected official's office and say, good morning, how y'all doing? Where's my coffee? I'd like to have a cup of coffee and some water. I sit down. Again, this is ours. This is ours. This is the people's office. It's the people's office, yes. And we need to make sure that they don't forget that it's the people's office and it's the taxpayers.
That's right. We do
that
not
are
need to be
paying
afraid.
them and their staff.
We do not need to be afraid at all.
No. Picture.
Well,
Six pictures, Mom.
let's say something about money. People say there's too much money in politics. Rachel, since you got this high-powered job, have you had the opportunity to walk into a legislator's office with a briefcase full of $100 bills. I doubt it. I doubt it. I think that bills are passed or fail on the strength of the arguments and not payoffs. But there is money that is needed to do this.
I think bills are passed a lot of times based on force. And it's either force of money or force of votes or threatened lack of thereof.
Yeah, so if you have $1 million that you can spend on an issue,
wine and dine and give a ton of money and threaten to pull if they don't, which I don't do that kind of lobbying, just for the record. I haven't, I'm not a millionaire. Tell me if you are, and we can talk about how to do this lobbying. Okay? But what I do is I count on the grassroots showing up.
Right.
When the grassroots show up, they realize they might lose votes if they don't do this.
That's what I think is most effective, and I think that sometimes if you have $1 million, you can print brochures and do websites and do events.
At a minute and a half left, we really don't have too much time for that, but we can obviously spend a lot more time on this issue. And I have been told that we should stay on state legislature while they're in session.
And something else is at this point, if anybody's interested in going to Austin. Request a day off now.
Yes.
Any day this legislative session.
There will be something
come down
happening.
to Austin, hang out at the Capitol, talk to your legislators.
So what other shows do we have?
We got, we don't have nothing actually planned, but we'll be back because we only have one off Monday this month. I think that's at the end of the month. We have a show planned all the way to June, but not for me. We will be back though.
Cool.
Right?
But
y'all at least.
How long have you been working on?
I've been working on gun rights since 2012. I've been working for GOA since last summer.
30 seconds. It's great having you here, Rachel.
Well,
thank you
very, very much.
Let's have you back. Would you mind being
I would love to be back. Thank you so much.
Thank y'all
really good stuff.
for joining us and allowing us to be in your living room or wherever you're at. And yes, because one of the things...
15 seconds are it.
We want to learn the strategies.
Yes.
How y'all...
we need to have back on.
Show up.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Gotta
Looks
show
like we're
up.
having them back on again sometime in the near future.
Adios.
All right? Yeah. Bye-bye, folks.
Thank you.
Pay attention.
Just growing